Welcome to Grandma's Tales audiobook. Tonight we have a very special long bedtime story journey for the most magical evening of the year. Have you ever noticed how, just for one night in June, the twilight seems to linger, refusing to let the stars take over the sky? This is the night of the Summer Solstice, the longest day of the year. For thousands of years, people all around the world believed that when the sun reaches its highest point, the veil between our world and the realm of magic becomes beautifully thin, filling the warm air with ancient secrets. Tonight, our long journey will take us through 3 beautiful tales of this magical night. This peaceful hour will lead us to the quietest, warmest places in the world, where the mind grows still, the eyelids grow heavy, and sleep comes as easily as the summer breeze. Our first story takes us back to a time long ago, to the deep, whispering forests of North America, where the legendary giant Glooscap must seek out the Queen of Summer to save his people from the endless cold. Lie down, get comfortable under your blanket, and let the journey begin. Long, long ago, the land was not as it is now. There were times when the winter giant, a powerful and ancient being made of pure, sparkling ice, ruled over the forests for many months without end. The trees stood bare, their branches covered in silver frost, and the great rivers were frozen so hard they looked like winding roads of solid glass. The white snow covered every hill, every valley, and every single stone, creating a quiet world where the only sound was the soft, icy sigh of the northern wind passing through the sleeping pines. It was a beautiful but very cold kingdom, where the stars shone like small, sharp diamonds in the deep blue winter sky. In a small, quiet village near the edge of the great pine forest, the people lived in simple, warm lodges. The smoke from their hearths drifted slowly toward the clouds, twisting in the air like pale grey ribbons. Among them was a youthful, clean-shaven, slender young man with curly brown hair, wearing a clean, simple tunic made of soft, dark cloth. His name was Ohanji, which means the bringer of light. He spent his days helping the elders, gathering dry firewood from the frozen borders of the woods, and ensuring that the fires inside the shelters never went out. He was gentle, patient, and always walked with quiet, steady steps. Ohanji carried a very special object with him everywhere he went. A small, smooth piece of polished amber, shaped like a drop of sun. It was his totem, given to him by his grandfather many years ago. When the wind howled outside, shaking the wooden beams of the lodge, Ohanji would hold the warm amber in his hand, feeling the faint, gentle heartbeat of the faraway sun hidden inside the stone. He would close his eyes and imagine the feeling of warm soil beneath his bare feet, the sound of buzzing bees, and the bright green colour of new leaves. The winter had been far too long. The food in the wooden storage boxes was running very low, and the children looked out the frosted windows, dreaming of green grass and the sweet taste of wild strawberries. The hunters returned each evening with empty hands, reporting that the deep snow made it impossible to find the trails of the forest animals. The world was sleeping too deeply, tucked under a heavy blanket of frost that refused to melt. Ohanji looked at the sky every morning, but the sun remained pale and weak, like a fading candle behind thick grey clouds. He knew that time was ticking away. If the warmth did not return soon, before the great village clock, the old cedar tree whose shadow marked the changing seasons, dropped its final dry cones, the earth might stay frozen forever. The old cedar tree stood in the very centre of the village squares, its frozen branches clicking together in the cold air like small pieces of glass. Every day, a few more brown cones fell onto the snow, and Ohanji knew they were running out of time. "I must speak to the great master, Glooscap," Ohanji whispered to himself, holding his amber totem tightly. "Only he is strong enough to travel to the far south and find the magical season that can melt the winter giant's crown." Ohanji walked through the deep snow to the lodge of Glooscap, the great protector of the land. The journey was difficult as the snowdrifts reached up to his waist, but he kept his eyes on the northern horizon. Glooscap was a giant of immense wisdom and kindness, who lived in a grand lodge made of solid granite rocks, surrounded by towering, snow-covered spruce trees. Inside, a low, crackling fire threw long, warm shadows across the stone walls, creating a soft, golden glow. The air inside smelled of sweet cedar wood and dried mountain herbs. "Great Master," Ohanji said, his voice respectful and steady in the quiet room. "The village cedar tree is dropping its last cones. The winter is consuming our strength. We need the warmth. I have brought my grandfather's amber totem to guide our thoughts toward the light." Glooscap looked down at the youthful, slender young man with brown hair. He saw the determination in Ohanji's eyes and felt the faint, warm energy vibrating from the small amber stone. The giant extended his massive hand, which was as large as a hillside, and let Ohanji place the tiny piece of amber in his palm. The stone glowed with a faint, reassuring light, warming the giant's cold fingers. "You speak the truth, Ohanji," Glooscap said, his voice like the low rumble of a distant, peaceful river. "The winter giant has grown too powerful. He has woven a spell of sleep over the northern world, forgetting that the earth needs to wake up. I will travel to the land of the south, where the air is always sweet, and I will bring back the summer to save our people. Keep the amber safe, young man, and watch the old cedar tree." Glooscap set out on his great journey immediately, moving with massive silent steps over the frozen mountains and through the white valleys. Every stride he took carried him across miles of sleeping territory. Ohanji remained in the village, keeping watch by the old cedar tree, holding his amber totem every night, sending thoughts of warmth and strength to the great master. He sat by the trunk of the old tree, brushing the snow away from its roots, whispering words of hope into the cold bark. Glooscap walked for days and weeks, leaving the bitter wind of the north far behind him. The air was quiet, and the only sound was the rhythmic thud of his giant footsteps. As he moved further south, the scenery began to alter in a wonderful way. The sharp, icy bite of the wind softened into a gentle, lukewarm sigh. The snow beneath his large feet melted into rich, dark soil, releasing the fresh scent of the earth. The ice on the ponds dissolved into clear, sparkling water, and the bare branches of the trees began to sprout tiny, emerald-green leaves that unfurled like small green flags in the sunshine. Soon the forest around him transformed completely. The heavy white blankets were gone, replaced by a vibrant carpet of green moss and soft grass. The air became heavy with the intoxicating scent of hundreds of blooming wild lilies and sweet honeysuckle. Bright golden butterflies danced in the sunbeams that filtered through the thick canopy of ancient oak trees, their wings glittering like small fragments of gold. The rivers here did not sleep. They splashed merrily over grey pebbles, singing songs of the endless sunshine. Finally, Glooscap reached a grand sunlit glade where the grass was as soft as velvet. In the centre of the glade, surrounded by thousands of colourful, glowing flowers, a beautiful young woman was dancing. She was the Queen of Summer. Her hair was woven with wild roses, and her dress was made of the golden rays of the midday sun. Wherever her bare feet touched the ground, new blossoms opened their petals to the sky, filling the air with sweet perfumes. Glooscap approached the edge of the glade, his giant form casting a long shadow across the bright flowers, but the Queen of Summer did not look afraid. She stopped her dance, looked up at the great protector, and smiled. Her laughter sounded like the tinkling of small silver bells in the summer breeze. "Welcome, great master of the north," she said, her voice filled with the warmth of a perfect June afternoon. "Why have you travelled so far from your granite hills? Your shoulders still carry the scent of the northern frost." "My people are suffering," Glooscap replied softly, bending down so his voice would not startle the birds nesting in the trees. "The winter giant has locked our home in an endless embrace of ice. He has forgotten the rules of the seasons. The old cedar tree is dropping its final cones. If you do not return with me, the north will forget the colour of green forever, and the children will never know the warmth of the sun." The Queen of Summer looked sad, her bright eyes dimming slightly, like a cloud passing over the sun. I cannot live in the cold north, Glooscap. The ice would wither my flowers, the frost would freeze my songs, and my golden dress would turn to grey dust in the bitter wind. I belong to the warm south, where the sun never hides. But Glooscap had a wise plan, a compromise that would bring balance to the entire world and create the magical transition that we now celebrate every single year. He knew that neither winter nor summer could rule forever without hurting the earth. You will not have to live there forever, Glooscap explained gently, his large voice softening into a whisper. We will create a sacred agreement. Every year, when the sun reaches its highest point in the sky, you will travel to the north. For 3 glorious months, you will rule the land, painting the hills with green, opening the lilies, and filling the long days with golden light. The winter giant will step aside, and you will bring joy to the children. The Queen of Summer thought about his words, looking at the beautiful, warm world around her, and then thinking of the children in the north who had never seen a butterfly or felt the warmth of a June evening. She imagined the quiet village and the young man watching the old cedar tree. She nodded her head, accepting the grand design. I will come, she promised, her voice filled with determination. I will bring my warmth to your people. Back in the northern village, the situation was growing urgent. The old cedar tree had dropped almost all its cones. Only 3 remained on the highest branch. The frost on the lodges was thicker than ever, and the wind howled like a lonely animal in the night. Ohanji stood by the tree, his hands cold, but his heart still warm. He wore his simple tunic, refusing to lose hope. He rubbed the smooth amber totem between his palms, closing his eyes and focusing all his thoughts on the image of a bright, golden sun. Suddenly, the amber began to glow with a brilliant, internal golden light. It grew warm, almost hot, radiating a beautiful, gentle heat that melted the frost on Ohanji's simple tunic. The warmth spread from his hands, up his arms, and out into the cold air around him. The snow at his feet began to soften, turning into tiny drops of morning dew. Looking up, Ohanji saw a wonderful sight on the horizon. Walking over the northern hills came the great master Glooscap, and beside him walked the Queen of Summer. She held a golden staff in her hand, and her steps were light and elegant. As she stepped onto the deep snow, a marvelous transformation began. The white drifts instantly turned into clear, bubbling streams of fresh water that laughed as they ran down the hillsides. The cold grey ice on the rivers cracked with a sound like distant thunder, melting away to reveal the deep blue water flowing beneath. The dark pine forest began to hum with the beautiful songs of returning birds, their feathers bright against the greening branches. The winter giant felt the immense warmth approaching and knew his time of rule was over. He saw the Queen of Summer and understood that the ancient law of balance must be obeyed. He did not fight, for he was a wise being who knew that after every long night, the morning must come. He smiled a quiet, frosty smile, bowed his head to the Queen of Summer, and retreated to the highest, most distant peaks of the mountains, where he would rest until the autumn winds called him back to the valleys. The Queen of Summer entered the village exactly on the day of the summer solstice, when the sun stood perfectly still at the top of the sky. The old cedar tree burst into beautiful fresh green needles, its long shadow resting peacefully on the soft grass. Ohanji stepped forward, holding out his hand, and placed the glowing amber totem at the base of the tree, right between its strong roots. The amber settled into the earth, where it would remain forever, as a symbol of the eternal connection between the sun and the earth. The people came out of their lodges, their hearts filled with immense joy and gratitude. They looked at the green grass, the blooming flowers, and the bright sky with tears of happiness in their eyes. The long, bright evening arrived, the twilight stretching across the sky in beautiful shades of pink, lavender, and gold, refusing to let the darkness enter the valley. The air was warm and still, filled with the scent of pine and sweet summer flowers. The children, tired from a long day of playing in the warm green fields and running along the clear rivers, lay down in their beds. They looked through the windows at the long, beautiful twilight that seemed to last forever. They felt the safe, protective warmth of the summer surrounding them, filling their rooms with peace. One by one, they closed their eyes, listening to the gentle whisper of the summer leaves outside, drifting off into a deep, peaceful sleep. And as the warmth of the summer forest settles deep into your room, our journey moves across the great ocean to another magical forest where ancient kings, playful fairies, and a beautiful midsummer night's dream are about to begin. The warm lavender twilight of the ancient American woods stretches out, reaching across the wide, calm ocean, carrying our thoughts to the gentle, rolling hills of old Athens. Here, a magnificent, timeless forest stands under the very same midsummer sky. The air in this wooded realm is perfectly still, soft and warm, holding the sweet, delicate scent of wild thyme, blooming eglantine, and damp, mossy earth. The sky above the leafy canopy is painted in a breathtaking hue of soft peach and velvety pink, a gentle sunset that refuses to fade, keeping the deep darkness of the night at bay. Through the calm air, tiny, magical, glowing dust particles drift slowly, rising from the forest floor like warm, golden sparks from a hidden fire. illuminating the spaces between the ancient, twisting oak trees. Deep within this enchanted green world, where the silver mist hangs low over the grass like a soft protective blanket, lives a youthful, clean-shaven young man. He has soft, light brown hair that catches the fading peach light of the sky, and he wears a clean, simple tunic of a gentle forest green shade, woven from lightweight linen. His name is Robin. Robin is a gentle caretaker of the forest's quiet places, a helper to the creatures of the woods, moving through the thick ferns with a light, graceful step, so silent it would not disturb a sleeping butterfly. He knows the secret pathways of the hedgehogs, the quiet hollows where the owls rest their heavy eyes, and the hidden streams where the deer drink the cool, pure water. Robin carries a very special object with him wherever he walks. A small silver bell, no larger than a hazelnut, tied to a thin cord around his wrist. This bell is his totem, given to him by the spirit of the old woods when he was just a child. It does not ring with a loud, sharp sound. Instead, when magic is near, the tiny bell vibrates with a soundless, comforting warmth against his skin. And when it does speak, it emits a low, musical hum that sounds like a single drop of rain falling into a calm, deep well. Holding his small totem, Robin can feel the pulse of the forest, understanding the silent language of the ancient trees and the soft breathing of the earth. But on this particular evening, the night of the Midsummer Solstice, a quiet tension hangs in the warm, fragrant air. At the centre of the grandest glade stands the solar flower, a beautiful, luminous blossom with petals like spun gold. On the very edge of its lowest petal, a single, perfect drop of solar dew has formed. This is the forest's ticking clock. The drop moves with agonizing slowness, sliding toward the tip of the petal. Robin knows that time is ticking away. If the drop falls before the balance of the forest is restored, the magical light of the woods will fade forever, leaving the glade cold and ordinary. The slow, rhythmic pulse of the amber light inside the flower serves as a constant reminder that the midnight hour is drawing closer with every passing moment. The trouble had begun when Oberon, the wise and noble king of the fairies, lost his prized possession, the love in idleness, a small, deep purple flower that possessed the power to bring peace and gentle understanding to anyone who looked upon it. Without it, a strange restlessness had settled over the fairy court. The tiny sprites and creatures, usually so harmonious, were growing confused, and a soft grey haze was beginning to dim the beautiful peach-coloured sky. King Oberon sat upon a throne of twisted roots, his long brow furrowed with worry, his usual calm demeanour replaced by a heavy, quiet sadness. Robin felt his silver bell grow remarkably warm against his wrist. The silent vibration told him that the king needed his gentle assistance. Walking softly through the curtain of weeping willows, Robin entered the royal glade, where the setting sun threw long, golden beams of light and deep, soft shadows across the velvet moss. The king looked up, his eyes meeting those of the youthful young man in the simple forest tunic. "Robin," King Oberon said, his voice like the soft rustle of dry autumn leaves. "The midsummer night is slipping through our fingers. The solar dew is sliding toward the edge of the golden leaf. If the love in idleness is not found before the drop falls, the harmony of our realm will shatter, and the sweet dream of midsummer will turn to cold, grey shadow." "I will find it, Your Majesty," Robin replied softly, his voice a calm anchor in the shifting twilight. "My silver bell will guide me to the place where the purple flower hides. We will not let the clock run out." Robin knelt by the roots of the king's throne, placing his hand upon the earth. He closed his eyes and listened, allowing the soundless vibration of his totem to fill his mind. The silver bell began to hum, a low, rhythmic frequency that pointed toward the deeper, more mysterious heart of the ancient forest. Robin stood up, adjusted his green tunic, and stepped into the shadowy labyrinth of the great oaks, his light brown hair brushed by the low-hanging branches. As he walked deeper into the woods, the twilight transformation became even more beautiful. The peach and pink sky above grew richer, turning into a deep, tranquil lavender. A delicate, glowing fog began to rise from the forest floor, swirling around the trunks of the trees like ribbons of silk. From the hollows of the ancient barks, hundreds of tiny golden fireflies emerged, their small lights glowing with a warm, steady radiance, casting soft golden pools of light onto the mossy path before him. They did not flash brightly. They simply glowed, like tiny floating candles guiding his quiet steps. Soon, Robin heard the faint, ethereal sound of music drifting through the trees. It was the sound of the fairy court's musicians, playing instruments made of hollow reeds and cricket wings. He stepped into a wide, hidden meadow where the grass was dotted with white anemones. There, under the lavender sky, the fairies were dancing. They were delicate, beautiful beings with transparent, shimmering wings that looked like veins of pure silver. They moved in a slow, hypnotic circle, their movements as fluid as water, but their faces were clouded with a gentle confusion. Without the purple flower of peace, they had forgotten the final steps of their midsummer lullaby. In the center of the dancing circle sat Titania, the beautiful queen of the fairies. She was resting upon a bed of soft, fragrant violets, her long, silver-spun gown flowing around her like a mountain stream. Her eyes were closed, but her sleep was uneasy, her hands twitching slightly as if she were chasing a dream that kept slipping away. Robin approached the edge of the meadow, careful not to startle the dancing sprites. His silver bell began to vibrate intensely now, growing quite hot against his skin. It was pointing directly toward a small, shadowed hollow beneath a massive, ancient elderberry bush just behind the Queen's resting place. Robin crept forward, bending low, his simple tunic brushing against the dew-kissed grass. Peering into the dark hollow, he saw a soft, magical glow. It was not golden like the fireflies, nor pink like the sky. It was a deep, rich, comforting purple light. There, nestled in a bed of emerald green moss, lay the lost flower, the love in idleness. Its petals were perfectly formed, radiating a calm, soothing energy that immediately caused the restless humming in Robin's mind to grow still. But as he reached out his hand, he noticed a tiny, sleeping creature curled around the stem of the flower. It was a field mouse, snoring softly, its small whiskers twitching in its sleep. The little mouse had found the flower, and comforted by its magic, had fallen into the deepest, most wonderful slumber. Robin smiled, his gentle heart refusing to wake the tiny creature harshly. He looked up through the branches toward the center of the forest. The solar flower was far away, but in his mind's eye, he could see the drop of solar dew. It was now at the very tip of the golden leaf, hanging by a thread so thin it could break at any second. The clock was ticking. Midnight was almost here. He had to act quickly, but he had to remain gentle. Robin took his small silver bell and held it right above the sleeping mouse. He did not ring it. Instead, he blew a soft, warm breath onto the silver metal. The bell responded by emitting its lowest, most melodious hum, a sound so sweet and comforting that it felt like a warm blanket being wrapped around the tiny creature. Hearing the soundless melody, the little mouse rolled over with a soft sigh, releasing its hold on the stem and drifting into an even deeper, sweeter sleep on the soft moss. With practiced, steady fingers, Robin gently lifted the scarlet flower from its mossy bed. The moment his fingers touched the stem, the purple light expanded, casting long, beautiful shadows across the entire meadow. The transparent wings of the dancing fairies caught the purple glow, turning the peach-pink air into a magnificent tapestry of twilight colours. Robin turned and ran back through the forest, his steps light and silent, his light brown hair flying in the warm evening breeze. He kept his eyes on the golden light of the central glade, watching the shadows dance between the trees as the fireflies parted to let him pass. The air seemed to hold its breath as he neared the royal circle. He burst into the grand glade just as the giant drop of solar dew detached itself from the golden petal. The drop was falling, descending through the air like a perfect glass sphere, sparkling in the final rays of the midsummer sun. With a swift, elegant movement, Robin slid across the soft moss, holding the love in idleness directly beneath the falling drop. The solar dew fell perfectly into the center of the purple blossom. Instead of a splash, a magnificent, silent wave of warm, golden and purple light erupted from the flower, spreading out across the entire forest like a gentle ripple on a calm lake. The golden dust particles in the air multiplied by the thousands, glowing with a soft, comforting brilliance that filled every dark corner of the woods with warmth and safety. The grey haze vanished instantly. King Oberon stood up from his throne, his brow clearing, a magnificent, peaceful smile spreading across his noble face. He felt the ancient harmony return to his heart, deeper and stronger than ever before. Across the meadow, Queen Titania ceased her restless turning. She sank into a deep, perfectly calm sleep, her face relaxing into an expression of pure, untroubled peace, her silver gown shining softly under the lavender sky. The fairies in the meadow stopped their confused movements. They looked at each other with gentle understanding, their transparent wings vibrating with a low, soothing hum that sounded like the distant murmur of the sea. They began to sing their true midsummer lullaby, a melody so soft and slow that even the leaves on the ancient oak trees seemed to stop their rustling to listen. Robin stepped forward and gently placed the love in idleness at the base of the solar flower, where the roots of the two magical plants intertwined, locking the forest's harmony into the earth for all the years to come. He looked down at his silver bell, which was now cool and quiet against his wrist, its grand task completed. He adjusted his simple tunic, sat down on a patch of soft moss under the protective branches of an old oak, and let out a long, satisfied sigh. The midsummer night had reached its perfect balance. The sky remained a beautiful dark lavender, a warm and comforting dome that protected the forest and all its sleeping inhabitants. The golden fireflies settled onto the ferns, their lights lowering into a soft, rhythmic pulse that mimicked the steady, calm heartbeat of the sleeping earth. The ancient kings, the playful sprites, and all the small creatures of the woods lay down in their hidden, cozy nests. They felt the immense safety of the enchanted forest surrounding them, a warm embrace that banished all worries and all restless thoughts. One by one, their eyelids grew heavy. Their breathing became slow and steady, and they drifted off into a deep, beautiful midsummer night's dream. And as the ancient melody of the fairy lullaby fills your room with absolute peace, our long journey continues, moving softly forward to a world of transparent wings, where the twilight fairies are waiting to carry you even deeper into the quiet night. The tranquil lavender dome of the Athenian sky slowly drifts further east, carrying the soft fairy lullaby across ancient, whispering borders to the deep, timeless forests of the Slavic lands. Here, on this very same night of the summer solstice, the air is thick with the rich, intoxicating scent of damp moss, fresh pine needles, and sweet wild chamomile blooming along the riverbanks. The sky above this dense primeval woodland is painted in a magnificent, heavy hue of deep twilight rose and calm, dark plum purple. A gentle silvery mist rises from the forest floor, twisting slowly around the massive trunks of ancient oak and birch trees, like soft ribbons of silk, keeping the world still and quiet. Through the calm evening air, thousands of tiny, magical, glowing dust particles float peacefully, rising from the earth like warm, golden sparks, illuminating the mysterious pathways of the woods. Deep within this enchanted green world, near a quiet village tucked between rolling hills, lives a youthful, clean-shaven young man. He has soft, curly brown hair that catches the faint, warm reflection of the twilight sky, and he wears a clean, simple tunic made of soft linen, woven in a gentle shade of deep, soothing blue. His name is Jarek. Jarek is a patient and kind helper to his community, a young man who spends his days caring for the village animals, gathering sweet meadow herbs for the elders, and walking through the dense ferns with steps so silent they would not wake a single sleeping sparrow. He knows the secret language of the wind, the quiet places where the deer rest their heavy heads, and the hidden streams where the water flows as clear as glass. Jarek carries a very special object with him wherever he walks. A small, smooth, circular disc made of dried birch wood, with a simple sun symbol gently carved into its center. This wooden token is his totem, given to him by his grandmother many years ago during a bright spring morning. It does not grow hot or make a sound. Instead, when ancient magic is near, the tiny birch disc vibrates against his skin with a soft, comforting pulse, releasing the faint, soothing scent of fresh, springtime bark. Holding his small totem, Jarek can feel the very heartbeat of the forest, understanding the silent thoughts of the ancient trees and the deep, resting energy of the earth beneath his feet. But on this particular evening, the extraordinary night of the summer solstice, a quiet, expectant tension hangs over the entire forest. Far down in the valley, near the edge of a still, dark forest pond, a beautiful white water lily floats gracefully upon the calm water. This lily is the forest's ticking clock for the magical night. Its pale, delicate petals are fully open now, reflecting the pink light of the sky. But slowly, petal by petal, the water lily is beginning to close for the night. Jarek knows that time is ticking away with absolute certainty. The mythical fern flower blooms only once a year, exactly for 1 short hour before the midnight bell. As each white petal of the water lily slowly folds inward toward its golden center, the remaining minutes of the solstice magic slip away, drawing the midnight hour closer with every gentle ripple on the pond. The legends told by the village elders said that the fern flower was a source of immense power, capable of granting unimaginable riches and fulfilling any worldly desire. Yet the old stories also carried a heavy warning that the magic of the flower was fickle, and those who sought it for selfish gain would find only loneliness and a cold, empty heart. Yarek did not crave gold or grand palaces. He looked at his village, where the summer crops had been modest, and where several elders sat by their windows with tired, aching bones, wishing for strength. Yarek's heart held a deeper, gentler wish. He wanted to find the flower to bring lasting comfort, health, and a quiet peace to the people he loved so dearly. As the twilight rose, sky began to deepen into plum purple. Yarek felt his small birch totem pulse with a sudden rhythmic warmth against his wrist. The gentle vibration pointed toward the darkest, most hidden valley of the ancient woods, where the ferns grew as tall as a man's shoulder. Walking softly through the curtain of weeping birches, Yarek entered the deep forest labyrinth, his simple blue tunic catching the stray beams of the setting sun that filtered through the leaves, creating long, artistic shadows upon the forest floor. I must find the blossom before the final petal of the water lily closes, Yarek whispered to himself, his voice a calm anchor in the vast, whispering silence of the night. My grandmother's totem will guide me. I seek no riches for myself, only the wisdom to heal and comfort. He knelt by the roots of a giant, ancient oak tree, placing his hand upon the cool moss. He closed his eyes and listened, allowing the soundless pulse of his wooden disc to fill his mind. The birch token responded, releasing its sweet, woody aroma, pointing his internal compass toward a hidden glade where the mist was thickest. Yarek stood up, adjusted his blue tunic, and stepped deeper into the shadow-draped pathways, his curly brown hair brushed by the low-hanging leaves of the hazel bushes. As he walked deeper, the forest underwent a magnificent, dreamlike transformation. The air became perfectly warm and still, filled with the soft, comforting hum of thousands of invisible crickets. From the dark hollows of the old trees, hundreds of tiny golden fireflies emerged, floating slowly through the mist like small, drifting candles. They cast soft, golden pools of light onto the mossy path before him, illuminating his way with a beautiful, natural radiance. The trees seemed to lean closer, their leaves rustling with a low, soothing sound that felt like a collective whisper, welcoming the young man into the heart of the mystery. Soon, Yarek reached the edge of the hidden glade. The ground was blanketed in a thick, emerald green moss that felt as soft as velvet under his feet. In the center of the glade stood a massive, ancient fern, its long, elegant fronds arching gracefully toward the earth. Yarek held his breath. The small birch token on his wrist was pulsing rapidly now, filling his arm with a deep, reassuring warmth. He stepped forward, bending low, his simple blue tunic brushing against the dew-kissed leaves. Suddenly, right before his eyes, a tiny, glowing bud appeared at the very center of the fern. It grew larger with every passing second, unfolding its petals like a slow, deliberate yawn. It was the legendary fern flower. It did not shine with a harsh or blinding light. Instead, it burst into a powerful, mesmerizing amber gold glow. The radiant blossom illuminated Yarek's face, his curly brown hair, and the soft textures of his blue tunic, casting beautiful long shadows onto the mossy ground behind him. The air in the glade grew instantly warm and sweet, smelling of honey and ancient summer nights. Yarek stood transfixed, looking at the breathtaking flower. He could feel the immense, ancient power vibrating within its golden petals. But as he reached out his hand to touch it, he remembered the words of the water lily clock. He looked back toward the path. Far away on the quiet forest pond, the water lily had only 2 petals left open. The minutes were slipping away. Midnight was almost here. He had to make his choice, and he had to remain pure of heart. As Yarek reached the flower, a low, mystical voice seemed to echo through the warm air of the glade, coming from the very roots of the ancient fern. "Yarek," the voice whispered, as soft as the evening breeze. "The treasure of the fern flower is yours to take. It can fill your pockets with endless gold, build you a castle of silver, and make you the master of the world. But remember the ancient law. The wealth it brings belongs to you alone. You can never share a single coin, or the magic will turn to grey dust." Yarek looked at the magnificent glowing flower, and then he closed his eyes, thinking of the simple village square. He saw the old trees from the stories, the tired smiles of the elders, and the children dreaming of peaceful summer days. He thought of his own blue tunic, simple and clean, and realized he needed no gold, no silver, and no grand palaces to be truly happy. "Then I refuse the gold," Yarek said softly, his voice steady and filled with immense kindness. "If a treasure cannot be shared to bring comfort to those I love, it is not a true treasure at all. I do not seek wealth. I only ask for the flower's true wisdom, the power to heal the sick, to comfort the weary, and to bring a deep, lasting peace to our world." The glade fell into an absolute, beautiful silence. For a moment, even the crickets stopped their song. Then the fern flower glowed with an even brighter, more magnificent amber light. Instead of melting away or turning to dust, The powerful golden blossom detached itself from the fern and floated gently through the air, settling perfectly into the center of Yarek's palm, right next to his birch sun totem. The moment the flower touched his hand, a spectacular, silent wave of warm, golden and purple light erupted from his palm, spreading outward across the entire primeval forest like a gentle ripple on a perfectly calm lake. The glowing golden dust particles in the air multiplied by the thousands, drifting softly through the branches, illuminating every dark corner of the woods with an absolute sense of safety and warmth. The magic did not bring gold. It brought something infinitely more beautiful. Yarek felt a profound, deep wave of understanding wash over his mind. His heart filled with the wisdom of the heart. He suddenly knew the healing properties of every leaf, the comforting secrets of the wind, and he felt a great, quiet power within his hands to take away pain and restlessness. Yarek turned and ran back through the forest, his steps light and completely silent, his hair illuminated by the floating fireflies that escorted him home. As he stepped out of the tree line and entered the village square, the midnight hour arrived. Far away on the pond, the final white petal of the water lily closed perfectly, sealing the magic of the solstice into the earth for the coming year. The grand cycle was complete, and the world was in perfect balance. Yarek walked softly from lodge to lodge, holding his glowing palm near the doorways. As the amber gold light brushed against the sleeping homes, a wonderful transformation occurred. The tired elders inside their beds suddenly breathed easier, their aching bones growing warm, strong, and completely rested. The worried minds of the parents grew peaceful, cleared of all fears and anxieties. The children, sleeping under their simple blankets, smiled in their sleep, dreaming of beautiful green meadows, golden butterflies, and endless summer sunshine. Finally, Yarek walked to the center of the village and placed his wooden birch totem at the base of the old village tree, where the golden light of the fern flower settled permanently into the deep soil. The village would now be a place of health, abundance, and quiet happiness for generations to come, protected by the unselfish choice of a single young man in a simple blue tunic. Yarek walked back to his own simple cottage, sat down on a soft wooden bench beneath the window, and let out a long, deeply satisfied sigh. His grand journey was complete. He looked out at the beautiful dark lavender sky, which remained a warm, protective dome over the entire peaceful world, refusing to let any cold darkness enter the valley. The deep, quiet warmth of the Slavic forest settled heavily into Yarek's room, filling the space with an absolute sense of safety and calm. He lay down on his bed, his mind completely still, his heart filled with the beautiful light of the shared treasure. One by one, The fireflies outside his window lowered their lights, entering a soft, rhythmic pulse that matched the steady, peaceful heartbeat of the sleeping earth. The entire world was now sleeping, tucked safely under the protective blanket of the midsummer night. The trees, the rivers, the birds, and all the people of the valley rested in deep, undisturbed harmony. Yarrick closed his eyes, his breathing becoming slow and regular, drifting off into the deepest, sweetest, and most beautiful slumber of the entire year. And as the golden light of the fern flower fades into a soft, gentle shimmer inside your room, the long bedtime journey comes to its perfect, resting end. The stories are quiet. The stars are watching over you, and the entire world is wrapped in peace. Sleep now, little one. The long night is safe. The summer breeze is warm, and the most beautiful, deep dreams are waiting for you. The end. Thank you for joining Grandma's Tales audiobook tonight for this magical 1-hour midsummer journey. I hope these peaceful stories have brought a deep, gentle calm to your little one and a moment of quiet rest for you. For more soothing audiobooks and screen-free, low-stimulation stories for toddlers and preschoolers, please stay on our channel and subscribe. Sleep well, sweet dreams, and until next time.